Well, right now we are a week away from a general election in the UK, and it is shaping up to be one of the most consequential polls in decades. Boris Johnson's Conservatives have maintained a strong lead in the polls, due in part to his clear line on Brexit. The opposition Liberal Democrats plan to cancel it altogether, and Jeremy Corbyn's Labour Party is somewhere in between. They want to hold another referendum. CNN's Nic Robertson joins us now from London for more on this story. And Nic, so Boris Johnson has made another promise of a Brexit deadline, saying that he will make it happen by the end of January. That, of course, after he said he'd make it happen with or without a deal by the end of October. Will voters believe this new deadline?
Yeah, before he said that he would rather be dead in a ditch than go to the EU and ask for an extension, but effectively that's what happened. Look, I think voters are really tired and fed up, and Boris Johnson's been able to capitalise on this. Those that wanted Brexit all along are just, want to see Boris Johnson get it done. As he says, let's get Brexit done and then the country can move on to other things. So there is something of a degree of these are politicians and just we don't trust any of them, but just get on with it and get it out of the way. And then there's the counter argument that we're beginning to hear more of over the past couple of weeks, and particularly this week seems to be a real point that Boris Johnson's being targeted on, and that is, look, you say you're going to get Brexit done by the 31st of January, but the reality is that's the divorce part. You've got to then negotiate the next part, which is what your future relationship is. So no, you're not getting Brexit done at all. Far from it. You're wading into a whole new series of negotiations. The period of time you're set for that is way too short, and there's a possibility you could crash out this time next year without having a deal at all. So is he trusted on that? I think the best example we had of that recently when he was asked on a leaders sort of face-to-face leaders question on the upcoming election. He was asked if politicians should be trusted, and when he started to answer, the audience laughed back, and I think that tells you a lot about what people think about the current crop of politicians, and in particular Boris Johnson, who does have a trust deficit already.
Yeah, not the response he would have wanted. So this is the third election in less than 4 years, and it seems to show, from what we've seen from the polls, that Jeremy Corbyn, the opposition leader, still lagging behind. And I have to wonder why his party hasn't done better, why they haven't capitalised on the fact that this government has failed to deliver Brexit, their one key promise.
Yeah, I think for Jeremy Corbyn here, the failure to land his message, so to speak, it comes from a couple of issues. One is that he is the most unpopular Labour leader in about 40 years. That's not saying Boris Johnson's got huge popularity numbers. He's also way into negative territory. Just Jeremy Corbyn is worse. Then there's the perception that Labour is always weak on the economy and weak on security, and those are big issues right now. So Jeremy Corbyn is sort of handicapped in that regard, but he's been doubly handicapped, handcuffed himself, if you will, by his Brexit proposals, which confuse people. They're actually relatively straightforward. If they win, then they would negotiate a different type of deal with the European Union and then put it to the people of Britain to vote on it. It's relatively straightforward, but he's not been able to communicate that, and the Conservatives are able to, able to sort of push on that point of confusion from his party and confusion from him and his inability to say whether he wants to be in the European Union or out. So that's why Labour's having a tough time. They were coming back in the polls, it appeared last week a little bit. Now it's still about 10 points between the pair. That is significant.
He's only got a week to try and provide some clarity. Nic Robertson from London, good to have you with us. Thank you. Well, still to come tonight, lawmakers in the US have announced their next steps in the impeachment inquiry into the US president. What we're learning about the possible scope of those charges. Plus, some Italian football teams are standing united against racism after a newspaper published a controversial front page featuring 2 black players. Now those footballers are speaking out.